Excellent. Oh, many different ways of meditating. And yesterday I was saying a little bit about just using your insight, wisdom, to find out when you're meditating. It should be a natural process. You're opening up the lotus flower. And if it stops, why? Why doesn't it open up nice and smoothly? And, it could be precepts need to be improved, kindness, more gentle in one's speech, more forgiving, and less, even like criticizing and fault-finding. Because I mentioned the other day about that poor little Anagarika who just training, and he got hungry in the evening, and he made himself a sandwich, and he didn't sleep the night. He was so upset that he'd broken the rules. And then I told him, I'm going to give him 50 lashes. Oh, no, not 50 lashes, 50 strokes to the cat. And 50 lashes is what you give to your wife when you take her to the beauty salon. You've got lash here, lash here, lash here. Someone sent me that a joke yesterday. But to 50 strokes to the cat, learn some kindness. Now, the loving kindness and metta just is so important. They haven't got the machine working yet. Doesn't matter, it's recorded here. This is called bootlegging, where you have the main recording and somebody also records it at the same time. It's okay, I'm very happy to have it recorded as many times as you like. But when a person feels that if they do anything wrong, they're going to get punished or shouted at, there's a big problem happens there. That people tend to hide the truth. And this came very clear to me on one occasion when there was a Sri Lankan girl, maybe about 17 or 18. She came to see me in our centre in Nolamara, very concerned. She said, I need your help, I'm in big trouble. Now, first of all, that 17, 18-year-old girl, around about that age, she'd been coming to the temple ever since she was small with her parents. And because she'd always come with her parents to the temple, and if you go over to Bodhinyana, you see some of the kids running around, just enjoying themselves. And, I never ever tell people just, no, don't make them be quiet in the temple. Just let them enjoy being a child, running around, making a noise, because that means they don't get scared of the temple, they don't get afraid of the monks. It's one of the places they feel like a second home for them, because later on in their life, they will need that temple, and they won't be afraid of it. The monks, the nuns won't be some sort of high priestesses or great gods. They feel terrified even to come close to ask questions. And this was one of the wonderful results of that type of policy. She'd been running around in the temple when she was a young kid, and later on her parents would take her to the temple, and now she really needed some help. And I've known her ever since she was tiny, and she said that she was pregnant and with a boyfriend. And the first thing I asked, have you told your parents? And she said, no, that's why I've come to you. They'll kill me if they find out. That's your job, Ajahn Brahm. Can you please tell my parents for me? And you were kind of touched that they had that confidence in you, and you were like a godfather, a grandpa. I'd always be kind to you and always would get you out of difficult situations. And I just was very touched by it. I said, yeah, sure, I'll do that. So I talked to the parents, say, look, people make mistakes in life, and it's not the end of the world. Your poor daughter is just really upset, very ashamed, embarrassed about what happened, but this happens in life. But what I also learned from that experience is, why is it that your children are really terrified of telling you the truth? Especially if it's embarrassing and they feel ashamed and they're in trouble. Can your children, if you have young children, can they tell you they got in trouble with the police for drugs? Or will they hide it? and they're afraid of what their mum and dad might say and do to them, and because they let their parents down. And this was what was really concerning to me. Why is it children would lie to their parents or hide the truth at a time when they need their parents most of all? They've made mistakes, they're in big trouble, and now they really need mum and dad's help. But they're afraid to ask. They're afraid of, like, the 50 strokes of the cat. In other words, they're afraid of punishment. They're afraid of being shouted at. And so it was a great privilege that I could, be the intermediary between her and her parents. But I notice all the time that in our life, we don't tell our faults to one another because we're just too embarrassed or we're afraid of being punished. And I always thought that a family, like parents and children, and I've got some children and parents actually to do this, to actually make a vow in front of me or in front of the Buddha or wherever, to make a vow that you can tell each other anything, the most embarrassing confessions, as long as it's the truth. Then there'll be no punishment. There'll be no scolding. Of course, it will hurt you, disappoint you. But at least you know that people are saying the truth, and then you can help one another. Otherwise, what happens in life? Husbands and wives, parents and children, we don't trust each other. We don't know if my son is telling the truth or not. Because you can understand why. He's just so afraid of being punished. So because of that, if you make that type of vow, then the family, your children will disappoint you a few times. They don't want you to do that for. You're in big trouble now, but at least they tell you. Husband and wife, you come together, those two. Often I make them make that promise just when I do the marriage ceremonies for them. I say, look, husband and wife, of all the people in the world, you two should actually be confident enough. You can tell your wife anything. You can tell your husband anything. Yeah, they may get upset, but you're being honest to them. It's much better you tell them now than they find out later. Because you know what happens in a relationship, and they find out, yeah, you may have been messing around where you shouldn't be messing around, but even what's worse is that the trust which is broken between you. People do have their frailties, their weaknesses, and so you understand that. But when you cannot talk to somebody and you're not going to get shouted at, you're not going to get things thrown at you, sometimes it does really help. That, somebody in the office, is making advances at you, and you like them as well, but then you go to your wife or husband first of all and say, look, help. This is my marriage, you're the one I've chosen to live with. But of course, there's other people who are attractive, and they're sort of, hitting on me. So I'm letting you know, please help. It's wonderful that, that you can keep the marriage together as a pair, help one another, instead of just, relying on him or her, to sort of do all the work. And then you find out afterwards when they're weak and they give in. So this is actually where that honesty is an incredibly powerful part of any relationship, any family. And imagine that you had a family like that. That, your members of your family, at least a close family, parents and children, they can come together and they say, look, I did a stupid, terrible thing. And they tell you because they're a family. And all the times I've been around and talked to families who get into trouble, quite honestly, that they've got weaknesses. And they still love that family. They still want to have that person as their partner in life, as their mum and dad. They love their kids, even though it embarrasses them and sometimes hurts them. But that's part of being a parent. But at least, you have that trust. You're going to work things out together. And you're going to be honest about your weaknesses. However embarrassing it is, you don't put them in the newspapers, but at least within the family you can know what's going on. And imagine the strength you can have when you work out these things. together. And the reason I say that together, and this is where you get on to the meditation stuff, is because that at those wedding ceremonies which I do the blessing of, that look at the bride first of all. I look at the bride. They just exchange the rings. And you have some wonderful wedding ceremonies sometimes, especially when things go wrong. I don't know why people want things always to go right in life. Because, the marriage celebrant we have over here is Dennis Shepherd. You've met him before. He's our president this year. I never let him forget the mistakes, the times he did things wrong, because they're funny. Because I do the spiritual part, he does the legal part. I remember doing one wedding over in Yanchep Park somewhere, and afterwards did all the ceremonies, and then he said, "I now pronounce you man and wife." And I said, and he looked, "What's wrong?" "Rings." They hadn't actually given the rings yet. Oh yeah, I forgot that. Well, that was a memorable wedding. Another one was actually they ordered the rings, I don't know from where, but they didn't turn up. Or it was some postal strike or something. So you know what they exchanged? And I blessed the things before they exchanged them. Cupcakes. Well, that was really cute. Why do you need a ring? Just a cupcake, just sweet and delicious. A much better expression of love. Because sometimes those two rings, sometimes I call them handcuffs. And I won't go to the 3 rings of marriage. You know the 3 rings of marriage? It's in one of my books. What are the 3 rings? What's the first ring of marriage? No, that's a usual one, but what's the interpretation? That's not going to work. You don't read my books. So anyway, the 3 rings of marriage over there, the engagement ring, the wedding ring, and the 3rd ring? Yeah, okay, but I'll change that, 'cause that's too negative. Get into trouble. So, the 3 rings of marriage, to change them, is offering. You give gifts and you give love, you give forgiveness to one another. Sharing. You see, I get romantic in my old age when it's safe as a monk to do so. And the 3rd ring, caring. Yeah, the 3 rings of marriage. Offering, sharing and caring. That's a bit more positive. But anyway, maybe you might say it's wishful thinking, but because I haven't been married, so that's why. Anyway, so you can actually look at the bride first of all, in the eyes. And that's what I tell her. You're a married woman now. You must never think of yourself from this moment on. And that's really important. It's a marriage. You're not single anymore. You can't think of yourself from this moment on. And she always nods, says yes. And then I look at the guy, and if he happens to be a Caucasian, especially Australian, I ask him the same question. You're a married man now. You must not think of yourself. He always pauses to consider what he's going to say. But then he said eventually, yes, okay, I'm a married man now. I won't think of myself. And then still looking at him, I say, now you're a married man. From this moment on, you must promise me you will never think of her, your wife, from this moment on. Great, you're silent too, because that's what happens there at the wedding. That the guy's silent, all the relations are silent, and they think, did I not hear this properly? Is this a really mad monk? And then looking at the bride, look her in the eye and said, from this moment on, now you're a married woman. You must never think of him, your husband, from this moment on. The same response you have now. This is silent awareness, because you don't know what this means. You know that pause of silence because you're confused and you're actually listening now? That's why we use some confusion to be able to hear the Dhamma and the truth. But this one has a good answer. Now you're married, you must never think of yourself, nor must you think of your partner. From this moment on, you must only think of us. You're a pair. You're together. And you can see the difficulties which people have. If you're always thinking about your partner, you get burnt out. You've got no part in the relationship. If you're only thinking of yourself, I mean, that's even worse. You're just so selfish. It's not a marriage at all. You might as well marry a maid or could I say that, a toy boy or something? I don't know. But anyway, just something you own and you don't really care about. You just exploit. So, if you know what a relationship is, it's always about us. You're in it together. So any idea of conceit, pride, ego just has to go out the window. You're together. You're us. And that means any problem, whose problem is it? Our problem, yeah. That's a wonderful way of dealing with problems in a marriage. But it's also how to deal with meditation. Your body, your mind, you're in it together. It's not as if you can control your body or control your mind. It's like a husband and wife. The body just can't think of itself for the time being. The body can't think of the body can't think of the mind can't just care for the body. You have to do it together. Coming together, working together. Which is why I often say just simple things like just sitting down and meditating. How can you do that without being restless? Simple. I may have said this the first day, I'm not sure. I just give so many talks here and over in Bodhinyana and all over the place, but this particular simile is really useful. You know that I used to meditate and I was asked to always stay with my breath when I started meditating. And then when your mind wandered off, come back onto the breath. It wandered off, bring it back. Wandered off, bring it back. Wandered off, bring it back. And that's the shortened version of my early meditating life. That went on for about 6 or 7 years. Wandered off, bring it back. I thought, this is getting nowhere. Why can't I stay? Except on rare occasions, why can't I just stay with my breath? So instead of using willpower, keep bringing it back, bringing it back, bringing it back, right? You know, instead of like trying to control people, use wisdom power. Much better to get good discipline. So, for example, getting your kid to go to the temple, or go to the church, or go to do something good. How can you get your child to go to the temple to learn some meditation or do something good? And there's a traditional way in Buddhism. It's called bribery. And this you got to look it up in the as it's in the Vinaya. Anathapindika, one of the chief, if not the most famous lay supporter of the Buddha, he was a person who got the Jeta the Jeta Grove Monastery, for the Buddha, where the Buddha spent almost 25 years. The longest time he stayed in any one place was in this Jeta Grove Monastery, given by Anathapindika. And Anathapindika had a son. And obviously Anathapindika was really rich, and he thought, what do I want to go messing around in Buddhist temples for? I'm rich, my dad is rich, I can do whatever I want, it's much better. But it doesn't matter, it's just, your son, they always need money every now and again, whatever it's for. So his father said, look, if you need some pocket money, or money just for yourself to, whatever you need, I will make a deal with you. For every 1 hour you spend in that monastery, I will give you $100. well, the equivalent thereof. And so, well, do I have to go and do anything? But no, as long as you're in the compound. You can be snoozing, you can be reading some book or doing whatever. As long as you're in that compound, $100 an hour. And you say, wow, this is good. Imagine you had a son and say, as long as you're in sort of Jhana Grove, you can just be in the corner there checking your emails. But as long as you're in the compound, then you get $100 an hour. And so, yeah, okay. So we'd go over to the monastery to sit in the corner, not talk to anybody, just on the outskirts there, but actually in the monastery. And then he would just tell his father, 2 hours a day, Dad, here's $200. And this went on for a long time. It was just a nice way of making money. And his father never said anything except just, okay, it's 2 hours. Is it 3 hours? Oh, very good. Here's 300. And what happened was that he needed some money. He went into the monastery and just counting the minutes, and he got bored, as you do. He didn't want to leave, otherwise he'd lose his cash. And so he decided, what am I going to do? And he saw all these people sitting around listening to this monk give a talk. He thought, I'm not doing anything. Why not have a listen? And of course it was a Buddha. And he listened to the talk, and then he went back home and gave as much of the money back to his father and said, thank you, Dad. Now I'm going to go, you don't have to pay me anymore. Because he realized the benefit of it. Well, bribery is a wonderful way to get your children or something to go to the temple and do some meditation. It's called skillful means. It's good investment. Anyway, now where was I going with this one? No, where was I? I forgot my track. Anyway, just about different types of, we're in it together, so we look after one another. And there's forgiveness, which we do to one another, so that whenever we whenever we do make mistakes, we do say sorry together, understanding we're not perfect. No one is perfect. What was it that others of marriage story? This was actually true because it happened to one of the people over in Singapore. She said that when she got married, that her father took aside his new son-in-law, and the father was giving, the son-in-law some advice. He said, you probably think my daughter is such a wonderful woman. He said, oh yeah, she's so beautiful and charming and everything about her is so delightful. I must be the luckiest man in Singapore to have married a woman like that. And he went on like that for another 5 minutes. And the father was just waiting and just till he finished gushing about his new bride, his daughter. He said, yeah. And that's what it's like when you first fall in love and get married. But then he said, after 2 or 3 years, maybe earlier, maybe later, but roughly average 2 or 3 years, you will begin to see the faults and the defects in my daughter. I know them because I raised her. And so you begin to see her faults and defects. But once you start to see her faults and defects, please always remember this, son-in-law. If she never had those faults to begin with, she'd have married someone much better than you. And that was both memorable, a little bit of a put down, but so true. And it goes both ways. So that people are just people. And so in our meditation is just, what it means is your body and mind. They're pretty much the same. The wandering mind, yes. Why do you go wandering off? And instead of actually keep putting the mind back, and you can't really bribe it, but there's other skillful means. I try to figure out why it is, using wisdom, why it is my mind never wanted to stay with my breath. Well, it stayed with me for a while, but then ran away again. And it was because I was a control freak. I treated my breath like I owned it. and like a maid. So my breath, whenever I tried to watch it, it ran away. Oh, it's not that control freak, young monk again, trying to get me to do stuff. And it was only when I was kind to it that the breath started to remain with me. And this particular story, should be in books about emotional intelligence. How to train a young child. Because this disciple over in Perth, that she told me she had about 5 or 6-year-old child. And you know what, looking after a kid, sometimes you get really upset for you don't know what reason or whatever. They just start to throw a tantrum and you can actually punish them. But this girl, this woman, she was much smarter than that. So the young boy was really getting upset, and the boy told, "Mum, I don't love you anymore. I'm leaving home." Only 5 or 6 years of age. Now what would you do if that was your kid? So don't be stupid. Wait till your father comes home. Just get into your room or whatever else it is. You try and punish them. But no, she said, "Really, you want to leave home? Okay, I'll help you pack." And so this mother went into the son's room with him and packed a little suitcase, which she used when he went on little holidays somewhere. And packing all the really important things which a 6-year-old think is necessary in life. His Spider-Man costume, lucky underpants, whatever it was. If you had a little kid, you know what I mean. And then, before the kid left home, the mother said, "Oh, but before you go, life is a long journey. At least you need something to eat, for the first part of your journey." So she made her little son his favorite sandwiches. It doesn't matter just how much jam, and it doesn't matter how sweet it was. His favorite sandwiches, put it in a brown paper bag, and then said goodbye to her son at the front door of her house, carrying a suitcase in one hand and a brown paper bag with the lunch in the other hand. "Bye-bye, son. Have a wonderful life. Don't forget to email or whatever. Keep in touch. Bye." And then off the kid went out into its life. Didn't run away from home, just was given permission from Mum. "Off you go. Have a wonderful life." And so off he went, walking down the path to the garden gate, and to turn left or right, I don't remember, but it doesn't matter. Turn left, going out into life for the first time by himself. And imagine, 6-year-old kids, 5-year-old kids. He went about 100 meters down the road before the homesickness just got unbearable. And he turned around, walked to the gate, opened the gate, walked to the path, and Mum hadn't moved. "Welcome home, son." That is emotional intelligence. So, when your wife wants to leave, you help pack her bag. Because you can see why this works. Who would want to leave a beautiful mother like that, who understands? You just, I'm just being upset for the moment, but her love is, "Okay, you want to go, off you go." And who wants to leave a home like that? Who wants to leave a husband or wife who's so kind and forgiving? They're special. And sometimes that, my own father, it was a shame that he died, but I could do anything which he asked because he'd been so kind to me. Sometimes we don't need force to train our mind. We need kindness. So often I tell my mind, "Okay, mind, what are you doing? What do you want to do?" And the mind said, "Oh, I just want to go over here, I want to go over there." "Okay, fine by me." It's a sort of a confession. Now, I didn't always have an easy life as a monk. And on this occasion, this was the story of when I was 6 years as a monk. And I found this beautiful monastery in the far north of Thailand, up in the mountains. And it had been abandoned. No one was living in it. And to me it was perfect. There was good buildings in there. And the villagers were just so happy to have a monk to look after during the rains retreat, 3 months. And that it was really decent food, not like the sticky rice and frogs which I used to have to eat in the northeast. And they said, well, all we really want to do is just to feed you, maybe on the once a week, give us a small little meditation or talk. They didn't want much out of me at all. And there's this beautiful cave there. I didn't mention it I think earlier. I used to spend many hours in that cave, a deep cave, meditating. It was cool and it was quiet, and there was lots of bats in there. And because of those bats, I've associated to this day, this is no exaggeration, one of my favourite smells is bat poo. It's just association, because when I smell bat poo, I associate with these wonderful meditations in this cave. But there weren't always good meditations, because what happened once was I started thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. And like many people, when you're young, you try to stop the thoughts. Stop it. You're not supposed to think like this. Watch your breath. Breathing in, breathing out, and then thoughts would come in. And I never had another monk to talk to, which was one of the reasons why it got really extreme. And it got so bad, I started thinking thoughts which no monk should think. I started thinking about, I was only 6 years a monk. I was about 29. Still young, still handsome. I thought, I wonder if that girlfriend is still available. No, I'm a monk, stop it. But she was, no, stop it. And I started thinking of, all romance, and then, sexy thoughts, and all the sorts of monk thoughts which monks aren't supposed to think. And I was ashamed that I was thinking those things. I tried to stop them. Stop it, just watch your breath. Come on, watch your breath. But the more I tried to watch my breath, the more these thoughts came in. And it was driving me crazy. And it was getting so bad that I went to the main hall, and the only person you could speak to was really crazy, but bow to the Buddha and ask Buddha, help, give me some inspiration. Because, I was just going mad, not mad, but just really suffering because all these thoughts, and I just could not kick them out of my mind. And I didn't want them. I've always loved being a monk. But why do these thoughts come in? But then I got the inspiration to do what I called a deal. For all of the day, I'd watch my breathing, but from 3 to 4 every afternoon, I would let my mind think anything absolutely goes. The most stupid, perverted, unmonkish, the thoughts of thoughts I would not like to tell anybody was allowed. And I would not stop them at all. And so I thought that was fair. If my mind wanted to think stupid, sexy thoughts, 3 to 4 allowed. Other than that, you just behave. It's amazing just how you think when you're getting desperate. So anyway, I tried that, and all day it was just the same. You try to watch the breath, and you just put forth lots of willpower, and these thoughts are just like bang down the doors, which I try to put up, and they just come streaming in, and I just couldn't stop them, and I get embarrassed and just watch the breath, and you're just so tired trying to control a mind like that. So it got to 3 p.m. and I was exhausted fighting my mind. And I leaned back against the wall of my hut, put my feet out because I was exhausted. Okay, you can think whatever you want now. It was my sexy thought time. Whatever you wanted to think, was allowed. I wouldn't stop you at all. And I sat down there, and for the next 60 minutes, I watched every breath without missing one. It was so peaceful. And that was an extreme experience, but absolutely accurate and true. And I thought, what is going on? And I tried to keep my mind pure. All these thoughts were coming in. When I let go, stopped fighting, made peace with my mind was so peaceful. It was one of those experiences which really taught me a powerful lesson. All the times you try and control your mind, you make it worse. You feed the restlessness with your negativity. As soon as you learn how to love your mind, the door of my heart's open. Whatever you want to do is fine by me. And it's so peaceful and quiet. Yeah, there's a lot of suffering, before that experience happened, but I learned such an incredible amount from that. How to keep your mind peaceful. You try and control it, and your defilements will win. You let go, and kind, open the door of your heart, loving kindness. Buddhists have loving kindness to so many things and beings, except for themselves. May all beings be happy and well. Stop it, Ajahn Brahm, you shouldn't sit like that. Just put your robes on properly before you do loving kindness meditation. But that is not how it works. The works are, you have loving kindness towards yourself, you make peace with yourself, you're kind to yourself. Have I, again, all the talks and stuff which I've said, did I teach yet I think I did, the anger-eating monster. Come into the Empress's palace. Yeah, I think that was one in the early days of this talk. That was brilliant psychology from the Buddha. A monster comes into the Empress's palace. Get out of here, you don't belong. Out now. And it just gets bigger and more ugly, more of a problem. I think I mentioned that with regard to healing cancers. Get out of here, tumour, you don't belong. That negativity makes it worse. You're actually feeding this anger-eating monster. And instead, welcome, monster. Thank you so much for coming to visit me. Has anyone got you something to drink yet? We have all sorts of wonderful, the drink I'm thinking of now, because someone offered it yesterday, that kombucha, that sort of supposed to be a nice drink, but I first had that over in that monastery where I had all those stupid thoughts. That was 1980 or 79 or something. They were making it look disgusting, this big, fungus growing in this bottle of like sweet tea. But when they strained it, it was really, really good stuff. Anyway, that was fresh. I love that stuff. But that time, not this the stuff I have these days in bottles is not quite the same. It's probably more healthy for you, but still, I like the old stuff from the villages. Anyway, get out of here. Do you want something to drink? And every kind act, kind word, or kind thought, monster grows smaller. And that's exactly what's happening with my mind. Get out of here, stupid thoughts. You don't belong. They got worse, stronger, until they got so big they were scary in my mind. And I said, welcome, thoughts. Thank you for coming to visit. How can I look after you? When you open the door of your mind with kindness, even the thoughts in your mind get very soft and peaceful, until they just, like the anger-eating monster, it shrinks and disappears all away. So I don't know about your mind. Do you love it? Are you still trying to train it? Are you trying to improve it? or are you making peace with it as it is? A lot of times people always try to improve. You ever notice you try and improve your husband, he gets worse? True. If you try and improve your wife, she gets really cranky. But if you care for them, if you love them, then they get better. Weird, but you can see that so often in life. So this is why there's anger-eating monsters in our life. The boss at work. Are you going to shout at him and demand stuff? Are you going to care? This is Julie's story, which I like real stories, because people say, oh, Ajahn Brahm, you don't know the real world. Life is tough out there. You got to be tough back. Yeah, I think I know more about the real world than people give credit for. So, this was Julie from Sydney, who had this business, the fashion business. She was a very skilled woman. And because he got to know them, and when she was pregnant and when the baby was born, they wanted a name for it, so I gave her the name Surya, like sunshine basically. And her Western name was Holly. And eventually her mum's business started to really take off. And she had this opportunity came up to get a contract for her fashion business with this big distributor in London. And they told her, can you come over straight away? We want to sign this contract. And you know that sometimes if you don't go straight away, they'll probably give that opportunity to another company. So she had a beautiful husband, and Dave, and told him, said, it's okay if I just quickly get the next flight to London. You look after Holly. He's so supportive, no trouble. And so she almost like abandoned her little kid when you're about 2, 3, 4 years of age. You can imagine how mum and the little child, the bonding so much, even though her husband was great. Even getting on the plane, she already missed her little daughter. But she went on that plane all the way to London, got off the aircraft, checked into a hotel, got changed, and went to the boardroom. No time for any rest. And as soon as she went into the boardroom, the directors were there, but not the CEO. And the directors said, I'm sorry, but you've wasted your time. Wait, come all the way from Sydney. Yeah, you might as well go back and get the next flight back home. There's no way that the CEO is going to sign any contract today. He's in such a filthy bad mood. He's so angry and upset about everybody. So, might as well go. And she was, I'm not going to go anywhere. I've come all this way. At least I'm going to see him anyway. Suit yourself. And so, because she was a meditator, a Buddhist, in the boardroom, she just went into a little corner and sat down and did her metta meditation, loving kindness meditation. May all beings be happy and well. Now, she was really good at this. She could really do it. May I be happy and well. May everybody be at peace, be happy, be well. And she was really getting into this when the door flung open. The CEO came in. It was like, what they call these yakas in Buddhist, like big red eyes, just really scary, steam coming out of his nostrils and his ears, and fire coming out of his mouth. And imagine this is a hard-nosed businessman in London, and seeing this young woman sitting meditation. It's a long time ago, when he didn't know what meditation is. And he shouted out, who is that in my boardroom? What on earth does she think she's doing? But not in those exact words. But I'm a very sensitive monk, and I can't really say exactly what he said. So, that really shocked her. Her eyes came open, and this fellow was almost looming over her, just breathing fire like some dragon about to devour her. You know, when you get into deep meditation, not even deep meditation, nothing harms you. And you're just so peaceful. That's what I call the afterglow of meditation. Someone could shout at you. It's like water off the old duck's back. And so she got up, and he was staring and glaring at her, and she walked right towards him, as you do when you're not afraid at all. And she looked him in the eyes. And it's not as if she was being forceful or just standing her ground. It was just natural, just relaxed, at peace. And then she said the words just tumbled out of her mouth, not premeditated, not planned. As she was looking him in the eyes, she said to him, "You have such beautiful blue eyes, like my baby Holly back in Sydney." She wasn't trying to be clever or put him down. It was just a natural response, because she saw his blue eyes, and it reminded her of her kid she was missing back in Sydney. And that CEO, he never heard anything like that in his life. There he was, just trying to just verbally just cut this woman to bits and gobble her up and spit her out. And all she said, that he's got beautiful blue eyes. And she said it was like she could hear the fuses going off in his brain, the synapses just being totally the word is discombobulated. It's one of my favorite words. Discombobulated. You may not know what it means in English, but as it sounds, that's what it means. So she was totally discombobulated and didn't know what was going on, couldn't make any logical business sense out of these comments. And for about a minute or two, it's like his brain was being rearranged. And then his face softened and he smiled. And he said, "Really? I've got beautiful blue eyes." I said, "Yeah." And then he was a busy man, so he signed her contract, and then he went off to the next meeting. He got her contract signed. This beautiful loving kindness meditation. Not fighting the world, but okay, whatever you want to do, mind. Whatever you want to do, boss, that's fine. Opening the door of your heart, got her contract signed. But he was not able to go back to her hotel to get a rest. He really needed that rest. And to maybe phone home and just talk to her little kid. And she couldn't leave, because she told me all the directors, once the CEO had gone, they formed a circle around her. And they said, "We're not letting you go until you teach us how the heck you did that." We want to know how to control our boss. Now you know how to control your husband. Control anybody with this beautiful loving kindness, wishing them well. It really is irresistible. And it's sometimes, just why do I want to get angry and upset at a person like this? You just can't do it. So that's one of the reasons why that kindness is very best. And sometimes if you do feel you're really going crazy in your meditation, obviously not here, because this is a beautiful place and nice teachers and good meditators, lovely food. If anyone gets crazy in this place, you're just one of the best meditation places in the world that no one ever has. Probably why. But if ever you do get very restless, there was this story. Oh no, first of all, couple of stories here. I forgot this story a long time ago until I saw it again. And it was the story of Nandi Wisala, the ox. It's one of these lovely Jataka tales, but even though that people think Jataka tales are for children, they're for everybody. So, there was a very poor farmer, and he worked hard all his life. He managed to just make ends meet, but It's time he should retire, and he still had to work really hard. That's why I relate to that story. It's about time I retire, but I've been working really. But the farmer's ox, this big fellow called Nandi Visala, came up to the farmer and said, "Farmer, master, look, you've been working hard, I've been working hard, so it's time we both retired." And said, "Oh, no, it wasn't surprised that ox could speak. If you look at those Jataka tales, all animals could speak in those days. If you look at those tales of that time, this was way before Walt Disney figured out the commercial benefits of talking animals." But anyway, he said, "Look," he said, "I'm a strong ox, the prime of my life. Why don't you go to the really richest person in the village, actually in the town, and you say 100,000 that my ox, Nandi Visala, the strongest ox in the world, can pull 100 carts all tied together full of stones or bags of rice, whatever you want to put in there, because my ox is really strong." And the farmer said, "Look, no ox can pull that." He said, "But I can." "Are you sure?" "Yes, because I want to retire too." "Okay." So the farmer went to this rich person, 100,000, that my ox can pull 100 carts. And the rich man said, "Well, look, you haven't got that money in the bank. That means you'll have to lose all of your farm and every possession you have, and probably have to sort of go into to work for other people to pay off the rest of your debts. You know what you're doing?" And the farmer said, "Yes, because my ox is the strongest ox in the world." And the rich person thought, "This is a really crazy farmer, why not?" So he took the wager, and he had to borrow so many carts from the other people in town, and they also had to help load them up with stones or bags of rice or whatever, and tie them all together, and tie the ox to the front cart. And the farmer went to the front cart, and all the villagers and market people were looking, because this was a really exciting event. Could this be done? Or was this a foolish farmer overestimating the power of his ox? Because people are always just arrogant and conceited and think that their possessions can do better than anybody else. And so the farmer went up and said, "Nandi Visala, pull those carts." Nandi Visala didn't even move. "Come on, you stupid ox, pull those carts." Nandi Visala didn't move. And he got a stick out and hit Nandi Visala, "Pull those carts, now." And Nandi Visala never moved. And everybody started giggling and then laughing. No ox can pull such a heavy weight. And the farmer realized that he'd lost everything. And he got off the front cart, went to a tree, and started crying. He'd lost everything. He was ruined. There was no future for him. And as he was crying, he felt a wet nose rubbing in his ear. And who was it? His ox. "Why are you crying, farmer?" "Because of you." "What do you mean, because of me?" "You promised you could pull all those carts and you can't." "But I can." "But you don't." "But I can." "But why didn't you?" "Because you shouted at me. Because you called me stupid. Because you hit me. That's no way to treat a friend." "Oh, this is a plan," said the ox. "You go back, those carts are still there. You go back to that rich man, and you bet 200,000 that I can pull those carts. But this time you treat me with respect, okay?" "Yeah, okay." And so they went back, and of course, easy money for the rich person, and said, "Okay, yeah, fair. Still there, nothing to lose. No ox can pull those carts." And he tied Nandi Visala to the front, and the farmer went to the front. Dear ox, kind ox, if it's not too much problem, please, would you mind just trying to pull those carts a little bit? But you don't have to. If it hurts too much and it's too much of a bother, it's fine. I will still love you. I'll always, you'll always be my ox, my best friend. And that ox, he strained every muscle. He pulled until you could see the veins standing out on his legs. And what happened? Nothing. The cart stood still. It was really heavy. People were just really impressed that the ox was trying this time. But there's no ox can pull that. So it's okay, ox, said the farmer, just never mind, it's fine. We still got each other. It doesn't matter if we don't lose everything. And this time the ox pulled, and you could actually see his eyes were almost bulging out of his head. Really straining. And what happened? Nothing. Then look, don't kill yourself. You're straining too much. It's impossible. Don't do this. It's okay. I forgive you. You're my ox, and I don't want you to hurt yourself. Come on, let it go. Now those words of kindness. The ox. Now you should know that in Buddhism we always have 3 times and then it's successful. The 3 refuges, the 3 bows, the 3 sadhus. This time, the ox really strained every muscle and sinew, and not only the eyes were almost popping out, the steam was coming out of his ears and nose, and the sweat was pouring down every muscle in his body, and he pulled and something creaked. They realized it was one of the wheels of the carts. There was movement. And you all know that the law of friction, once things starts moving, the friction gets less. And so another cartwheel started to move, and another. And people were cheering the ox. Yeah, go for it, ox, you can do it. Everybody was behind the ox, and soon all the carts were being moved. It was like Hong Kong winning the World Cup soccer, or Indonesia winning the Asian Games. It was unexpected. Everybody was cheering, yay! And so the farmer and the ox could retire comfortably, and as they used to say in Disney, live happily ever after. And the moral of that story was the kindness. So you say, dear wife, if it's not too much problem, would you mind cooking my favourite meal today? But if it's too much for you, don't worry, darling. But it's got to be sincere. And it actually does work. I've seen it work. After I told that story, I just told that story the first time. Many years ago over in our Nolamara temple, this guy came up after and said, it's amazing, some of the coincidences. You tell a story and I've got sort of know it works. Because he went to one of these fundraisers for schools. Now they're doing a new swimming pool or something. I remember even, I don't know if this happens in Hong Kong or in Indonesia, but if there's a school they want to get like a new swimming pool, they have to get donations. And everybody gives a hand. I remember this one fellow knocked on the door in Perth and said, I'm collecting for the school swimming pool. Can you help? And the fellow said, oh yes, no trouble at all. Just can you wait here a moment? And he went to the kitchen and came back with a glass of water. Here's my donation for the school swimming pool. A glass of water. One of the problems is when I find the jokes really funny, I laugh so much I mess up the punchline. Anyway, no, the real story was had a fate selling this and selling that, and they had camel rides. And so this fellow came, and they were already finishing off the fundraiser. And when they finished off the fundraiser, this guy said, I'd always wanted to ride a camel. Just was way around. The owner said, look, I'm sorry, but the camel is so tired. He's been working all day. It's been a hot day, and we're just packing up now. And the man said, can I give double or something? Because I always want to do this, and I'll give an extra donation. And so it's for the school. And so the man looked at his camel and said, Camel, would you mind? It's only one more time. And this fellow just come from a long way, wants to ride you. And it's only just for one more time. Would you mind? And he said, he was speaking English words to his camel, kindly. And the camel went right down and let him go on. And he went around, and even though the camel was tired, even the camel understood the owner and wanted to do dana. If he'd have said, get down, camel, now, of course the camel would never get down. It happens in real life. You're kind to animals, and they're kind back to you. Kind to your mind. So, the next time you want to meditate, just look at your mind, say, dear mind, kind mind, you've been meditating all day, but if you wouldn't mind, just one more hour, come on. And don't force your mind, don't need to work. If it's too much for your mind, you want to go to bed or you want to go checking your emails or anything, well, it's okay. And then you'll find, if you're kind to your mind will be kind to you. The last story is one of the best, about loving kindness meditation. One of the Anagarikas, who was here for a year and then went back to finish some of his studies in Germany. I think it was in Hamburg University. And he said, he'd been doing a lot of meditations, really good fella. And I saw him a couple of times afterwards, and I interrogated him, are you sure this story is accurate? He said, yes, this happened. So, the first day on the campus, he's a student, okay, so, not that wealthy. He walked past an ATM machine, and that machine made a sound. He called it like a gurgling sound. He didn't know what it was, but he assumed that the ATM machine was being friendly and welcoming him onto campus. That's what he interpreted it as. So every time for the next few months, when he passed that ATM machine, he'd always give it loving kindness. May your money never run out. May thieves never rob you. May they never shout and get angry at you when they find they've got no balance left so they can't take anything out. May the people never swear when they chew up the credit cards. May you be happy and well. May you never run out of euros, never actually run out of electricity. May you be happy and well, ATM. And you might think that's crazy, but he said he was having his lunch. Now in the sunshine, a nice day, just within about maybe 10 meters of the ATM machine. And he saw that no one had been close all the time he'd been having lunch, 15 or 20 minutes. And that's when he heard this gurgling sound. The same sound he heard when he first came across campus, which he recognized was the sound of the ATM machine. And so he looked over at the ATM machine, and a 20 euro note came out. No one had put any credit cards in, pressed any buttons, not done anything for that 20 minutes. And this 20 euro note came out. They went over to his friendly ATM machine. He said, wait, did this belong to anyone? And he realized it belonged to him. So he put it in his pocket and walked away. That's what happens when you're friendly to ATM machines. That's actually a true story. The power of kindness. Dear Nandi, we say, it's not too much problem and difficulty for you. Would you mind pulling these cards? Dear ATM machine, I know I've got no balance left. But would you mind, if it's not too much problem, maybe sort of 100 US might be very helpful. Thank you. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Sorry about going on too long, but one story leads to another, and then hopefully they're useful. Loving kindness.